Build that wall. 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 Build that wall.
And as we mentioned, the president plans to divert $6 billion from the Defense Department towards his wall. That's $2.5 billion will actually come from a program that seeks to counter the flow of illegal drugs into the U.S. Another $3.5 billion will come from the military's construction budget.
We had certain funds that are being used at the discretion of generals, at the discretion of the military. Some of them haven't been allocated yet. And some of the generals think that this is more important. I was speaking to a couple of them. They think this is far more important than what they were going to use it for. I said, what were you going to use it for? And I won't go into details, but didn't sound too important to me.
Acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan says he's looking to free up some funds to use at the southern border following President Trump's national emergency declaration. Mr. Shanahan says this could be done by delaying or even canceling other projects.
It's an invasion. We have an invasion of drugs and criminals coming into our country.
The president reallocating billions of dollars for his border wall. In addition to the nearly $1.4 billion from Congress, he's going to move $3.5 billion from military construction budget and another $2.5 billion from the Pentagon's drug fighting program.
Veto. At the White House, the president promised to veto any measure passed by Congress to block his emergency declaration.
Will I veto it? 100%. 100%. And I don't think it survives a veto. We have too many smart people that want border security, so I can't imagine it could survive a veto, but I will veto it, yes.
The Speaker, Nancy Pelosi, said there is no national emergency and that Mr. Trump created a crisis.
We will be fighting him on this usurping of power, of violating the Constitution of the United States in the Congress, in the courts, and with the American people. So this is a path I would not recommend he go down. I don't expect him to sign it, but I do expect us to send it.
But first, a coalition of 16 states has filed a lawsuit to help keep the president from using emergency powers to redirect federal funds for his border wall.
From California and Colorado to New York and Washington, D.C., opposition is mounting against Donald Trump's declaration of emergency. On a national holiday, President's Day, protesters gathered in defiance of their current president's border wall and his use of a national emergency to tap into billions of dollars to build a barrier on the U.S.'s southern border. The lawsuit, filed in the state of California, but joined by nearly a third of the U.S.'s other states, most of which are run by Democrats, challenges the president's state of emergency.
President Trump got it right when he said he didn't have to do this. Mr. President, you shouldn't do this.
Saturday Night Live apparently getting under President Trump's skin this weekend. President Trump tweeted, "How do the networks get away with these total Republican hit jobs without retribution? Very unfair and should be looked into. This is the real collusion." That tweet came after this sketch.
And we will then be sued, and they will sue us in the Ninth Circuit, even though it shouldn't be there, and we will possibly get a bad ruling.
And then the Mueller report will be released, crumbling my house of cards, and I can just plead insanity and do a few months in the puzzle factory. And my personal hell of playing president will finally be over.
Powerful new video. It shows more than 100 migrants climbing over the border wall.
All right, there it is right there with thermal imaging. Border Patrol agents say a smuggler helped them get across, and apparently the smuggler had a ladder.
Since 1990, Border Patrol agents have discovered at least 230 cross-border tunnels running from Mexico into California and Arizona. They've seized loads of cocaine, methamphetamines, and marijuana inside them.
Border Patrol agents not only have to protect what's above the border,
well, I'll go down first,
but also what lies beneath.
This is already in place, built by the cities to drain water.
Infrastructure that smugglers are taking advantage of.
What they're building is tapping into this, and they're building an illicit tunnel.
The deputy patrol agent in charge in Nogales, Kevin Hecht, took us through the tunnels used to train agents to spot breaches made by smugglers.
Sometimes we got to strip down because it's so tight. Gun belt off and a gun in a hand and a flashlight in the other. Very, very simple.
Earlier this month, the Mexican Federal Police discovered this tunnel that accessed the sewer system that flows into the United States. And last month, the Border Patrol sealed this unfinished tunnel that crossed into Arizona.
These tunnels are about drugs then?
Yes, for the most part. So
Heck says smugglers' ongoing use of these makes tunnel training essential.
in training, you'll go in this pipe and you'll be like, okay, I'm above ground, I'm crawling a pipe, everything's fine. Okay, let's put you under some earth and see how you react.
How do you not then get that claustrophobic feeling? Like, how do you get them past that?
You can't. So either you're going to do it or you're not.
From arid desert to rugged mountains, this is the US-Mexico border that the president has promised to protect. A vow that led to the shutdown of government.
Whether you call it a fence, a barrier, steel slats, or a wall, this is what the Trump administration has built so far, the structure the president believes is worth fighting so hard for.
This section covers 20 miles of land in New Mexico, but not one new mile of the nearly 2,000 along the border has yet been built on or funded by Congress. What you're seeing is a replacement, and it sits right next to something far smaller, designed to stop vehicles, not those on foot. There is nothing uniform about this land and no singular solution.
We are agents of the U.S. Customs and Border Protection. If you cross the wall, you will be in violation of U.S. federal immigration law, and you will be arrested.
In El Paso, this is what crowd control looks like. A military-style rehearsal for a potential influx of immigrants.
Tim Foley calls himself a certified tracker.
That's where they come through, right down here.
He's the founder of the Arizona Border Recon, a group of volunteers who travel to this part of Arizona from all over the country. Here at the border, those at the front line say they need the money because we need protection.
What we have right here is just simply sticks in the desert that are holding up barbed wire fence in order to impede someone from crossing.
Along this wall, there are more than 5,000 Border Patrol agents, like Acting Deputy Chief Patrol Agent Ron Bellavia.
This is what you wanted funding for. You wanted to make sure that this could be replaced with a more sturdy barrier.
This and other areas like that. If the American people are happy with this level of security as being the border barrier, I would caution them because we see the threats on a day-to-day basis.
The president has now said he will, in fact, sign this government funding bill to keep the government open. We know that a second government shutdown had been looming as early as Friday if this did not happen. He says he will sign the funding bill, but the other breaking news we're following at this hour is what he will do in addition to signing that bill. The White House saying moments ago he will take executive action, including a national emergency. The president has threatened to do this to find other ways to fund his demands for a border wall, of course, on the southern border. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell moments ago on the Senate floor saying the president did in fact intend to do this. The White House confirming this moments ago.
I've just had an opportunity to speak with President Trump, and he, I would say to all my colleagues, has indicated he's prepared to sign the bill. He will also be issuing a national emergency declaration at the same time. And I've indicated to him that I'm going to support the National Emergency Declaration.
So I'm going to be signing a national emergency. We're talking about an invasion of our country with drugs, with human traffickers, with all types of criminals and gangs.
If President Trump decides to go forward with a disaster declaration, he'll be making a tremendous mistake. Declaring a national emergency would be a lawless act.
Democratic president can declare emergencies as well. So the precedent that the president is setting here is something that should be met with great unease and dismay by the Republicans. And of course, we will respond accordingly when we review our options.
I think what you'll see here, as we've seen in the last 2 years, is that you'll hear a lot of grumbling, particularly unsourced grumbling from unnamed Republican senators and congressmen, and then they will meekly submit.
I think Trump has been able to say, I've been reasonable, I was an honest broker, I reopened government so that we could have a negotiation. And you guys sent this back to me. This is not a serious proposal. I have to take the steps that I have been given as the executive.
I think President Trump is showing strength on this issue. He has a clear vision for protecting Americans from dangerous illegal immigrants as well as from drugs. And I think the national emergency in this case is the fact that Congress can't act. That's an emergency. We need to make sure that we take care of that. And I applaud this president for taking a strong stand and making sure that all Americans understand that we have a border and we need to enforce our border security.
A desperate attempt to distract from the fact that President Trump broke his core promise to have Mexico pay for the wall.
The decision sent shockwaves through Capitol Hill.
Will Trump ever look our soldiers and veterans in the eye and tell them that it is they who will pay for this wall of waste? Of course not.
The president has unilateral powers to declare a national emergency, which enables him to seize property and redirect funds from other projects without congressional approval. It is typically reserved for natural disasters or major crises, like the September 11th attacks or foreign interference in U.S. elections. President Trump has been hinting at it for weeks.
If they can't do it, I will declare a national emergency. I have the absolute right to do it.
This morning, the president is due to sign a budget deal passed overwhelmingly by Congress that will prevent another government shutdown. It includes only about 1/4 of the border security funding the president demanded, so he plans to act on his own to find the rest.
The president does plan to spend $8 billion on that wall. $3.5 billion will come from the Defense Department's military construction budget. Another $2.5 million will be diverted from the Pentagon's drug interdiction program, and $600 million will come from the Treasury Department's drug forfeiture fund.
Western TV show from the 1950s. It was called Shutdown.
Right.
And it aired on CBS.
I know.
Right? And it features, this is true, it features a con man, and the con man's name is Trump. And that con man tries to justify building a wall.
The people were ready to believe. Like sheep, they ran toward the slaughterhouse. And waiting for them was the high priest of fraud.
I am the only one. Trust me. I can build a wall around your homes that nothing will penetrate.
What do we do? How do we save ourselves?
You ask, how do you build that wall? You ask, and I'm here to tell you.
You're a liar, Trump.
But now that one of you has doubted me, there will be a charge.
How much, Mr. Trump?
$50 apiece.
It's a lot of money, Trump.
It'll go up with every word. I knew you'd get me out of this.
Sure, that's why you were leaving without telling me.
Well, you don't believe that? I was on my way when the ranger stopped me.
Oh, you were, huh?
You don't think I'd lie, do you?
You don't want an answer to that. No, I don't need you now. Every minute you're alive, my neck's in trouble. Hand over those saddlebags.
I'll take them.
What?
Like, even the I am the only one, which we heard in the campaign speeches, you know, the president speak like that. I'm the only one that can take care of this problem.
That was the moment when I thought, this isn't real. We
Right.
can't.
What isn't? 2018 or the
this
show?
in the newsletter. Now I'm watching this whole clip going, oh, this is crazy. And then he gets to the point where I am the only one. It's just me.
It was God. God wanted Donald Trump to be president.
This is according to the White House press secretary, Sarah Sanders, who says this in a new interview with the Christian Broadcasting Network.
I think God calls all of us to fill different roles at different times, and I think that he wanted Donald Trump to become president, and that's why he's there. And I think he has done a tremendous job in supporting a lot of the things that people of faith really care about.
So if the president signs the deal, what happens next? President Trump still calling for a wall along the southern border and says he can do it without Congress.
I'm not happy.
President Trump may not be thrilled, but sources say he will likely sign the border security plan to prevent another government shutdown.
I don't think you're going to see a shutdown.
The deal gives him just over $1 billion for 55 miles worth of fencing at the border. But President Trump is still calling for a wall, even threatening a national emergency.
In theory, this move allows the president to make sure the government keeps running and workers keep getting paid, while he gets to keep his promise for that border wall. But high-ranking Democrats are calling it lawless.
Amen.
The day that started with a prayer.
Let's all pray that the president will have wisdom to sign the bill so the government doesn't shut down.
Tonight has Republicans divided over the president's plan to declare a national emergency to fund his border wall. President Trump is pledging to sign the spending bill that the Senate has already approved to avoid another government shutdown. The bipartisan deal provides $1.4 billion for border security to go toward a border fence, but falls well short of the president's demands for $5.7 billion. To get around Congress for that, he says he'll use executive power.
We will get the job done. The wall is very, very on its way.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says what's happening at the border is not a national emergency, but a humanitarian crisis. And New York Democrat Chuck Schumer warns the declaration is a dangerous move.
A gross abuse of the power of the presidency.
What makes this national emergency different is how it comes after a split Congress passed what both sides believe is a fair budget.
House and Senate Democrats and Republicans that this was the limit that they saw that ought to be spent on the wall.
That limit set at $1.4 billion, a fraction of the $5.7 billion President Trump originally requested. Professor Rosenberg says it's unclear where the additional money will come from, but it will have to be allocated from other agencies or projects.
It's an emergency. It's a humanitarian emergency. And we are going to take care of our border. It's going to be done. And crime is going to go down throughout our whole country, not just at the border. And the border's the least of it. It's what comes in through the border and permeates throughout the whole country. And you're going to see drugs drop way down because a big percentage come in through the border. You will see drugs way down. You're going to see crime go way down.